Hi everyone, my name is Daniel Laskewitz and I'm going to talk to you today about child flows. I know there's tons of people who have been waiting for this, so let's just dive in. So here we are on the Flow homepage. Currently it's only possible to create a child flow that's in a solution, so let's move to solutions. I already have a solution in here called Child Flow Demo, but if you don't have one, you can actually create a new solution and fill in the details in here. For now, I'm going to cancel and I'm going to select the Child Flow Demo. When I click New Flow, it automatically opens a new tab and I can now search for a flow button. So let me select the manually trigger a flow trigger and add a new step. Now I'm going to look for respond and I can find the response to a Power App or flow action. I can add an output in here, select text and then name it response and enter the value succeeded as the response. I can now rename my flow and call it a child flow. Actually, I'm going to call it a button child flow and I'm going to save this. It's saved now, so I can go back to my solution and see that I already created the button child flow. I can now add another flow. And of course, this is going to be my master flow. So when I look for flow, I can add another manually trigger a flow trigger and add a new step. Now I'm going to search for child. So I can find run a child flow and select my button child flow from the dropdown. After that, I can, for instance, use a compose to actually show that I'm getting an output. So I can see the response here, and that's the one I just created. So let's save this one. I was a little bit too quick, so let's call this master flow and save it again. When I go back, I'm in the flow detail page and I can actually run the flow here. So select run and it's already running and it actually shows that my flow has run successfully. You can see that I have run a child flow and it actually got a response called succeeded. So this actually works just as planned. So is it only possible to use the button flow? No, there's actually also another way to create a child flow. And let's create that right now. So click new, click flow. And now I can go search for request. And I can select the when an HTTP request is received trigger. And I can use a sample payload to generate schema. So if I want to have an input, I can just create some JSON in here and put in input and select done. Now I can, of course, do another action. I can also do a request response and put the input in here. So let's save this one. I forgot to name it already, so let's do HTTP child flow and save it again. And now I will go back to my solution. I will select the master flow. I will edit this one and I will run the HTTP child flow. It will automatically get my input in here. And I can, for instance, say hello. And actually take a look at what comes out of the child flow. And that's nothing right now. So let's save this one. Use the body. And sorry, I'll go back to this one and run it again. Run the flow, and it will actually run the flow. I triggered the flow, I ran the child flow, and the compose gave back hello. So that's actually how you can also use an HTTP request. Now, let's go back to the child flow and do something different with this. So let's go and add a SharePoint action. I'm gonna look for the get items action. I'm gonna look for a site I want to use, and I'm gonna select a test list I already created before. Now I want to actually choose value, save it, and I can go back to my master flow and edit this one. So it still has the same things, and select this one, go back, run it, and now I can actually run this flow. It already succeeded. So I triggered the flow with nothing in there. I ran the child flow, and at the end I got a response with all the items of my SharePoint list. So this is really easy actually to do. And you might of course want to add a parse JSON action at the end, but this is actually a way how you can easily change this to a dynamic value to get back. If I go back to my solution and I'm gonna use the master flow again and edit, I can also change this to the button child flow, of course, and save it. But if I want my button child flow to use SharePoint, I can also do that. But how do you do that? You can just add another action, go to SharePoint, select this one, get all the items, select the site, of course, select the list, and then I can, for instance, use a text. Oh, sorry, not a text. I can actually change this and do a simple response, because I already did that in the other one as well. And now I can use the value with the list of items. When I save this, it will just work. But when I go back to my master flow, I can actually run this, and then it will actually fail. And why is that? It will give me a message back, and it gives me a weird connection reference output, error detail. So what actually happened is that when I go back to the child flow and I go to run only users and click on edit, it actually gives me the option to choose between provided by the run only user or use another connection. And I can now click another connection, click OK, save it, and now I can run the flow again. So I'll go back to the master flow. I'll resubmit this and click OK. And now it will run again and it will actually succeed. And that's because the connection was actually in run only mode. So the user that would run the child flow would actually have to provide the connection. But now I use the connection with a prefix connection. And that actually makes a lot of sense that it doesn't work because it doesn't have a connection from the run only user, because that's a system account, of course. So that was my little tour about how to run child flows. I hope you gained a lot from it. And if you have some questions, please let me know. And see you next time.